Okay, welcome to my channel and welcome to a new figure oil painting time-lapse. This painting is called Victoria with Red Wild Rose. It is 130.160 centimeters big, so it's quite a big painting. As you can see here, I'm starting out with just placing and counting how many times the face goes into the canvas or the size, and I try to get the face or the beginning as correct as I can on freehand without any tracing or without any use of projectors or stuff like that. Projector is something I kind of look as cheating, because some of the most difficult things is to get the drawing right and have the skills to do that. I'm the kind of artist who want to make things harder for myself, not easier, because I think it's the challenge, among other things. It is the challenge to be able to create something difficult by the use of only my eyes and my own drawing and painting skills. So I take some pride in that, if you're going to use that silly word, pride, which you don't really understand what it really means. As you can see, I started out with the face, and I just keep on building the surroundings. As you also see, I don't use any charcoal or anything like that before I start painting. But as you can see, in the beginning I'm using the brush almost like I would have used a pencil or a charcoal, piece of charcoal. I'm using gravure, and I'm basically drawing and painting at the same time. I also don't believe much in what some people do. They are making a more grayish griselle or gazelle or whatever they call it. I am in that opinion that I just go for the correct colors as good as I can from the start. I think it's a gigantic U-turn to make first a grayish sketch and then start adding in colors. I just want to build from the start. And as you also see, I'm using toned canvas. I use actually raw umber and turpentine, or turp as it's called. Turpentine, it's called in Norway. And I basically view the darkened canvas as shadows. So in the beginning, I'm just kind of pulling back out the light, and then I keep on just building. I also view the painting as relief. I try to create some three-dimensional dimension, in the canvas, just like Rembrandt did in his paintings. When you look at Night Watch, how the spear comes out of the painting, and you can only do these things if you basically are working with nature's own color circle and how nature creates shapes and colors, and you add in the sculpture dimension that is building out the texture and the different types of what shall we say, the different types of textures. Basically I view paint as clay with color in it. And that is also one of the reasons why I love to use the Old Holland paint in general. That is what paint I use, because it has this great constitution of being almost clay-like. it is so filled up with pigment and so little oil in it that I get the feeling that it's almost like I should have used clay. As you can see here, I'm just keep on filling in and filling in, and yeah, it's the same thing. I do not really understand at all why people choose to go for a grayish gazelle when you can just go right in and basically add the colors from the start. Of course, if you do a more grayish gazelle, you will be able to save more paint, I guess. And when I'm using Old Holland, that could be a good idea. What you can do is that, because I'm using a gesso as a grounding, first I buy already prepared canvas, but usually the prepared canvas you buy has a lot of structure in it. It has a lot of linen structure, and I choose to put on at least 2 layers of gesso on top of that. First one thin layer, so I cover most of the textures, and then another layer where I actually add some textures and so on when I before into the gesso. And if you are strategic, you can actually build textures in the gesso and save some paint that way. That I actually basically build the painting in white gesso before I add the wash with raw umber, and then when I then start to paint over it, I already have some beautiful textures and stuff that I can build on. And then I of course are using brushes and knives and stuff in that process in the gesso. But you should be a little bit careful, because if the gesso gets too thick, you can risk that it cracks, it becomes too brittled, so you should be a little bit careful. I paint for so long on my paintings anyway that, and since I'm also not using any tracing or any projectors, I also do a lot of small mistakes, big mistakes, small mistakes, so I have to correct the painting all the time through the whole process. And through this correction process, I add more texture and add more paintedness, more of my subjectivity, more of my choices, more of everything that makes a painting come alive. And I noticed when people are using projectors that the paintings tend to become a little bit more flat and lifeless, and you don't see that in Rembrandt's paintings or stuff. Maybe you can actually see that a little bit in some of Vermeer's paintings, because he used the chiaroscura, and but also you can see that he was so brilliant with the colors and went so deep into the nuances and colors that his paintings doesn't really suffer from that. And there is a big difference between a chiaroscura and a projector. So I would, as a painter, as an artist, I would try to do everything freehand. Yeah, that is my view. I know there are people who disagree with me about that, but at least I don't disagree with myself. And as Christopher Hitchens did say, my own opinion is enough for me. And if you disagree, you can pick a number, stand in line, and kiss my ass. And that is basically my opinion. For me, everything is about the paint, about the process, about the challenge. And yeah, you see, I'm building more and more shape and textures, adding the you see, I'm using You see the thigh hair are reddish and yellowish, so I'm using more bluish colors to make the shadows. And that is what will happen in nature. If there is red, you have greenish in the shadow. If you have orange, you have more violet or blue. You have and all these colors are kind of working together to create more almost an impressionist feel to it. And some people actually told me that they sometimes feel that my paintings are moving, especially when the light hits them and it changes from gray light, like kind of cloudy, to sunlight and stuff. And that is because I'm using the colors of nature. I'm using the same principle, that the light that comes from the sun. And my colors explode when they are hit with different types of light. If you only use gray tones and you don't use so much color, you won't get that effect. What is it? Maybe is a good thing for some people is that it's easier to control it if you have less color. And I sometimes think, even I think I use way too much color in my own paintings. So, you know, you get some, you give some, and you just have to do the best you can. Nobody taught me how to paint. If I had, or as I said to a person the other day, I was talking about painting and said, well, all my teachers are dead a long time ago, and like Rembrandt and Vermeer and Turner and all the classics are dead a long time ago. So, but you can actually learn if you're looking at classical paintings and you're interested in painting, how it was done. Remember to go into and look at the textures and the brushwork. That is where you find the artist. That is where all the secrets are. So that is what I recommend. Now you see, I just keep on building and building, and I change it and I move stuff around and I add more color. You can't do this in one go. It is impossible to make this happen in one go. And the strange thing is that every time you add another layer of color, even if you paint over it, it becomes something more. Even if you scrape it down or remove what you did, it becomes something more. For some reason, there is an accumulation of touches, accumulation of subjectivity that slowly are dripping into the surface. So yeah, there's no doubt that is what is happening. This painting was also particularly difficult because she was kind of hanging upside down there, and it's kind of. The good thing is actually, if you hang a face upside down, is that it becomes you become more objective when you do it. You can actually see the full in description, and on my channel you have a full, is it 6 hour almost long video of the whole process. So you can actually see the full process when I paint, and you can do it in branches, so you can just see the whole thing at the same time. You see, I just keep on adding and adding. To create a sculptural effect, you just have to build. There's no other way. And I see there's a lot of people who are making beautiful sketches, and I think they are beautiful. But that's more, if you train yourself to do that, that is quite easy after a while, because you get used to swapping around the pencils and making good illusions. But when the pain of painting comes when you destroy the first subjective things you did in canvas, the first sketch, when you start to destroy it, and you lose all these nice brushwork that then will of course lay underneath all the other brushwork. When you do that, there is a transition from a beautiful sketch to a whole large amount of pure frustration and struggle to find back to something that works. And you have to break it down, and that is when the challenge really starts, because now it's not kind of spontaneous and beautiful anymore. It is a mush. It becomes the different segment in the different places in the painting starts to fight each other. You get hung up in certain details, and you can't really find the right way to make the painting come alive in the right way. And you just have to keep on painting, keep on adding, and try to go into the deepest flow you can to then connect. And at some point, the painting becomes something else and something more. And then you start on a finish process. And when you go into the finish process, you become more you just keep on. It's almost like you have a rope that is tight, but it isn't all tight. So you just tighten it more and more and more. But you don't want to tighten it over the breaking point. It mustn't go over the breaking point into too much, almost kitsch. It's just becomes too much. It becomes too beautiful. You have to also keep some of the looseness. So you have to kind of tighten it up and keep it loose at the same time. So we're just tweaking. And the pencils are becoming smaller and smaller. And the details becomes also smaller and smaller. Now in the main file, I'm playing a documentary. I think it is Wonders of the Universe, actually, with the Brian Cox in the background, if I don't remember wrong. So you can actually learn some things about the universe at the same time that you see me paint. I don't talk in that video. That is also one of the reasons why I'm making this one, so you can actually hear me talk about what I'm doing. I've talked a lot of other things now, but it's you can see here how I just keep adding shadows and new layers and new layers and new layers and new layers on top of each other, and I tweaking back and forth. This is not, you cannot, as I say, you cannot make a sculptural painting in one go. It is just not possible. Here you can actually see the finished work, and I'm using premium semi-gloss photo paper, just as you know. It's in the background there. You can soon, I will be actually zooming into it. And you can see here how I have built the textures. I built all the chest hair is very thick with colors, and then it's the shadows that are kind of kept down, so you get that 3D situation. Here you can see some of the brushwork, and you can see the thickness of the colors, and see how the details are made. Now, if you want to support my channel and my artwork and my video making, you can go to Patreon and sign up for $1 or $5. I do a Patreon giveaway every month as one small painting to one of my lucky patrons. So go check that out and give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and I see you in the next video.